YouTube, we got work to do. What's good, YouTube? This is JTE Entertainment, where we focus on money, business, finance, relationships. We bundle those things in together because we want to change the culture and we want to change that mindset. So while y'all are here, go ahead, like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell your people about this so we can go ahead and get this message across. So last week I was just scrolling through my news feed and I saw a post that was quite interesting. Let me just go ahead and show it here. Blocked out the name and everything like that, but as you can see, it says you gotta make 100K to realize 100K ain't no money. And it got a few likes, more comments, and some shares and everything. And when you first read it, you're like, you want to think about that. And my initial response would be they may think that 100K isn't a lot of money is because of the initial sticker price, as you will, for an actual 100K job. And what I mean by that, so let's just say you're at a 9 to 5 and your compensation package is 100K, right? So they saying that you're gonna make annually 100K a year. So with taxes, if they take taxes and everything out, you're already going to give the government about $34,000 on average. So that leaves you with around $66,000 annually, like net income. So let's do this. So I'm going to do 66 divided by 12, or 66,000 divided by 12. So that's roughly $5,500 a month take home. And that's if you don't have any insurance, if you're not contributing to your 401k or anything like that. So if you just strictly taking out taxes, that's $5,500 a month that you have to work with. After the 100K, yes, because annually 100K, if you do that, let me try to get this as accurate as possible. So if we're doing 100K, you do that divided by 12, that's a roughly $8,300. So yeah, $3,300 a month is what you're getting taken away just in taxes. So that's what I'm thinking when I read this post. But then I remember an article I saw back in July or something like that. And let me just bring up this article. 60% of millennials earning over $100,000 say that they are living paycheck to paycheck. So initially, like, wow. So you have an annual salary of 100K and you still manage to live paycheck to paycheck. So it's like, and yeah, so the article is updated September 16th of this year. So you're like, yo, what's going on? Why are people that's making that type of income still living paycheck to paycheck? So it says in a survey this June, 60% of millennials earning over $100,000 that they are living paycheck to paycheck. And some of these millennials are known as Henrys. So if you don't know what a Henry is, it's an acronym for high earner, not rich yet. And so it says in today's economy, $100,000 is considered middle class in the U.S. To me, that's still considered a lot of money. So let's dive down in this article a little bit. It says high earning millennials, they feel broke. 6% are raking in over $100,000 a year, but they are living paycheck to paycheck. In a survey they did based off of 28,000 Americans. It found that 54% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and nearly 40% of high earners, those that are making more than $100,000 annually, say that they live that way. So it says that high earner millennials, they feel broke. 60% of these millennials, 60% of these millennials raking in over 100,000 K, they still live paycheck to paycheck in a survey that they did of about 28,000 Americans. So I'm like, somebody's lying, right? Because this doesn't make sense. So I scroll down a little bit on the article. It says that's partly because of life choices. I don't think partly. I think a lot of it has to do with the life choices. Many of these millennials are likely Henrys, which is short for high earner, not rich yet. Their acronym was invented in 2003, but it has come to characterize a certain group of 30-something six-figure earners who struggle to balance their spending and saving habits. Yeah, so they struggle to balance their spending and their saving habits. I don't think it has as much to do with the economy as this article may be led to believe. And they're saying a 100K salary isn't what it was. The economy is a huge factor behind it. I really disagree, and I'm gonna kind of go in detail on as to why. They say that the economy is also a huge factor behind why six-figure earning millennials feel broke. As the report said, living paycheck to paycheck sometimes carry connotations of barely scraping by and of poverty. The reality of paycheck to paycheck lifestyle in the United States today is much more complex, and the current economic environment has made it even more complicated. It cited that the example of a college-educated 35-year-old earning more than 100K while juggling a mortgage, student loan debt, and a child, which could have them with little savings for big purchases or unexpected emergencies. So it says this generation is facing an affordability crisis. Income increases simply have not kept up with the exponential increase in living costs, and the pandemic hasn't helped much matters by throwing job loss and pay cuts into the mix. Okay, all right. So yeah, I kind of disagree with this a little bit, and I'm gonna explain why. So usually, if you have a hundred k a year job, you have some type of skill that is highly needed. During the, like I said, I started calling this thing the blip. During the blip, we saw a lot of people that had like low skills. We saw a lot of people that had those type of jobs, those low skill jobs. We saw those lost. Actually, the demand, especially in my market, and some of my close friends' markets, actually they made more money than they ever did last year because there was a demand for their specific types of jobs, and that's because they had a skill that was a high skill, that was a needed skill, and it still is. But it was especially needed during the blip. So I think it's more on the lines of an affordability crisis. And what I mean by that, look, when you start making that money, you remember eating them ramen noodles during college. You remember struggling. You remember riding around in that car that smoked a lot. And as soon as you start seeing that money, you don't delay self-gratification. Or we don't, I'll say that. I'll put myself in this mix because I was like this. We don't delay self-gratification. And I think that's one of the big things with this, because I mean, even on my newsfeed, I see some really educated and skilled people that going on trips, right? They going on, they're buying these really extravagant houses. They're living the life. So if 60% of those millennials that are in this category are living paycheck to paycheck, that doesn't have anything to do with the economy as much as it has to do with your spending habits. So as soon as you get that money, it's gone. You have no plans for savings. You don't have a plan for emergencies or anything, right? So, and I was kind of skimming through the article. I don't see anything about where the survey was, or where some of these Americans were they just in like one state, was it in the South, was those types of things, because that can play a factor in it, because 100K can go further in Florida than it can in California. So that kind of the your geographical location plays a factor in that as well. But again, I mean, just based off of what I see on my news feed and what I see like in my everyday life, I still can't get a PS5. Sony, holla at your boy. I mean, anytime the new iPhone comes out, it's sold out. Anytime the Jordans come out, they're sold out. So I don't think it's because of the economy. I think a lot of it has to do with piss poor money management. And I want to end it with this story right here. So I remember when this was my first job out of college, and I was I guess a loan officer, you could call that. It was for a lending company, and that's all we did was lend money to people. And I'm gonna do a show on that too, because those are one of the ways that people that these are one of those things that keep you broke. But anyway, I was there one day. This guy came in. He had a white, brand new Hyundai Genesis, and I remember this because I'm a car guy. I love vehicles. So he had a brand new white Hyundai Genesis. Almost looked like a Maybach or something like that. And he had a suit and tie on, very professional. He came in and he sat down. He said, "Hey, I need a loan for $1,000." He was like, "Yeah, sure." So when we do this, we ask for your name. We do the social. We ask for your place of employment, how long you've been there. So this particular guy, he was at his place of employment for about a year. And so we said, okay, what's your annual salary? So he said his annual salary was $100,000 a year. And we kind of looked a little puzzled because we never had anyone with that type of income come in. We're usually getting people that say they make about $30,000 a year annually, and below. So we were kind of stunned that he said 100K. So he has to prove these things. So he had his check stub, and once we pulled his credit, we looked at the debt to income ratio, and it was rather low. It was like 20%. So we were like, where's the rest of his money going? And guys, this was more than 10 years ago, right? This is back when, this was more than 10 years ago. So, we're just going through and we're just puzzled that this guy makes 100K, but he just needs to borrow $1,000 from us. And he was like, "Yeah, man, I just got myself into a little bind here, but hey, I'll pay it back. I promise you, I'll pay this $1,000 back. The next time I get paid, which would be like next week." So, I mean, we even though we were stunned that this dude is making this type of income, needing $1,000, and then when we pull up his debt to income ratio wasn't that high. We were still stunned the fact that he needed to come to a place like our establishment and borrow borrow $1,000. So, I mean, when I saw that article, that made me think of that, because I don't think it has a lot to do with the economy. I think it has a lot to do with delaying self-gratification and not having a plan for your money and living in the moment. So I understand it, guys, and I get it. When you get to that type of income, you think this is a huge milestone, which it is, and you want you don't have a plan for that extra income that you're getting, that disposable income. So all you're doing, oh man, I'm gonna get it back the next week, right? I'm gonna get my 25 or 2,500 or 3,000 next week. So let me go ahead and just splurge this, and then I'll look at my bills later. We can't do that. We have to have a plan, and there is a time for when you want to splurge. I get that. I do that from time to time. I don't do that all the time. I mean, even when I do it, my wife looks at me like, "Look, you're gonna have to pull back a little bit." I'm like, "No, we got it." And she's like, "Pull back." So, and I'm supposed to be the, the money guy. But you know, cause she still, you know, my wife still, you know, we balance each other out. I'll say that we balance each other out. But there's a time for when you do that. You don't have to ball every weekend. I mean, we, like I said, we just did this on a vacation. We was like, hey, we really have a good vacation this year. So when we go on vacation, hey, we're gonna ball. So she was like, cool. So I mean, like I said, you save up for that. And I wouldn't have done that if, one, I didn't have a savings for either 3 months, 6 months worth of expenses, and I didn't have an emergency fund, and I didn't have a plan for like a Roth IRA for stocks or anything like that. Like every time I get paid, I make sure that my money is assigned to something. Whether if I do want to just save that money for to blow it later on, I have a plan for that. Whether if I want to save some money for putting it in my investment portfolio, I have money for that. You know, or if I just want to save it just to put it back because we don't really need it right now, and I just want to put it back for a rainy day. You have to have a plan for it. It is very irresponsible, and it can get you into a lot of high water, because when you have the type of income, you're not buying low level things. You're buying really expensive things, or you're going to want to be financing really expensive things. So if you don't have a plan in place, when you have cards stacked that high, any little wind can knock down that house of cards that you got stacked because there wasn't a plan set in place for your funds. I'm gonna leave it right there though. What do you guys think? Again, comment down at the bottom. You know, am I right? Am I wrong? It has more. Do you think it has more to do with the economy, or more to do with spending habits that people have once they reach that type of level of income? Guys, this is JTE Entertainment, and I am out.